Back to the We Thrive 2025 Summit, pre-summit workshops. My name is Shannon Ivey, and I am the host of this fun thing that we're doing. I'm a coach and a creative, and I'll read you my little bio. This is what I snagged for myself. Shannon Ivey, MFA, AEA, PCC, there's so many letters, is the founder of Gather SC and the award-winning What She Said project. Miss Ivey from Memphis, Tennessee is a professional actor, director, facilitator, Tedx speaker, ICF certified professional coach, podcast host, and creative fairy godmother. She holds a BA in theater from Mississippi University for Women and an MFA in acting from the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, and a potential PhD in progress from the European Graduate School in Saas-Fee, Switzerland. Miss Ivey blurs the line between art, activism, and advocacy. Her work blends applied storytelling, self-development, creative nonfiction, memoir, performance, art, and testimony. So there is that bio. And why are we here? Okay. Someone who might be on the call said, "Why are you throwing this thing?" Well, I love to connect cool people with cool people, and I happen to know a lot of them. So what I've been noticing is that on my algorithm, there's a group of people that are freaking out, and I'm not here to shame them, but I'm watching them heavily grieve. And even like now there's the TikTok just went down, and I'm just seeing so much disruption. On the other side of my algorithm are people who are either unbothered or have figured something out. I could make a guess. I'm not a researcher yet. Dr. Harris is. I've been really interested in why certain folks seem to handle really difficult things well. And even in the memoir that right now is, I'm going to have a contract here really soon. It passed peer review with the University of South Carolina Press. In the memoir, I asked a friend of mine whose name is Sabrina, she allowed me to use her name, why out of all of my friends, she handled my cancer diagnosis and treatment so well. Even this was 8 years ago, my death cleaning. I was like giving her stuff and giving people bags of stuff. Why is she handling this so well? Well, I'll let you read the book to find out what she said. But turns out some people have tools, tips, and tricks that other folks don't have, which is leading me to, I'm very curious about the science of hope and creativity and how they go together. And I'm also super interested in the ecosystem of a marginalized person, multiply marginalized people, and the tools and tricks that they have, and how they are the folks that will teach us or model for many people on one side of my algorithm on how to thrive in difficult circumstances. That was like the blah, blah, blah. What I found a framework called the 8 dimensions of wellness that has been helping me. It actually is kind of how I saved my own life. So I'll tell you that quick story, and then we'll do the practice together that I keep using it every year on my birthday. So back when I was probably 10 years ago, before cancer diagnosis, I began to take my birthday off from everyone around me. I'm an introvert, no matter what anyone says. And I would take myself away. Maybe I'd drive down to a beach and sit there, and I would contemplate my life, what was going well, what I wanted to improve. And I just sort of like took a day of reflection. I don't do this in January because it's just too cold. I do this in October on my birthday. So I found this tool, and that particular year, I was a little bit nervous about a few areas of my life. I used the 8 dimensions of wellness to narrow it down to 2 areas, because I was like, look, when you've been through a whole lot of things, sometimes it's overwhelming to restart. I think at least one person a few days ago, and that person might be on the call now, said, no, you'll meet her tomorrow. She said, who starts over at 50? And I'm like, I like to do it about every 5 to 7 years. You're my people. So that year, it was health. So I took this process, I narrowed it down to health, and there was like a career issue I needed to handle. I was shifting into being a professional development trainer, which is where I met Dr. Alicia Harris in that part of my life. And I had some things I needed to work through so that I was able to fully release or integrate the old me into this new me that I was excited about. Because of that 8 dimensions of wellness, I then made a process where I had a buddy. And there's 4 of us here. We can try to use this buddy system today, where I would tell someone the hard thing that I needed to do that I was afraid of. Because of that, I told a friend who would not let me off the hook. And I said, this is what's happening with my body. It's been happening. And that's also in the book, she had a very strong reaction because she and I both knew we were in some really scary territory. So that day, she immediately got me to her surgeon and got me in quickly to get the diagnostic where we'd find late stage 3 colorectal cancer. Here we are 8 years later. So I like to say this practice saved my life, but what it does is it continues to lovingly, kindly, gently show me where I have agency and where I have locus of control, which is why I'm bringing it back and what I'm calling the 100 days of thriving. So I want to share this practice with you. So first, in the chat, I think you have the workbook. It's like 12 pages. Oh, wow. You use this when working with individuals with substance use treatment? Yeah, disorder. That's where I met you. I wasn't in treatment, but I love clinical directors in treatment centers. They ended up being my favorite clinicians. I'm like, I love these people. They're funny and they can handle difficult things. All right. So let's do just a little quick overview, and I might have you join me. What are the 8 dimensions of wellness? So I'm going to state the 8 of them just out loud, and then we're going to talk about them for a minute. Then we're going to play with them. So 8 dimensions of wellness are physical wellness, social wellness, emotional wellness, occupational or work, financial wellness, environmental wellness, intellectual/creative, and spiritual. All right. So in the workbook, I studied there are lots of people who use this, and especially a lot of clinicians use this, social workers, therapists. What I like is that we get to decide what we say is wellness. That's my shift. And so I've often said the 8 dimensions of wellness using a satisfaction scale. So someone outside of me might be like, oh, you should make more money. But what if I'm satisfied with the level of income and outgo I have in my life? Then I would give myself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 on that would be, I probably would never say a 10, but I'm like that. But I would say, oh, well, I'm satisfied. I would say an 8. Someone outside, they don't get to have a say. This reminds me of Alyssa's poem, I get to say. So in the 8 dimensions of wellness, there are some definitions which I put, but what today we're going to think of is like, what does this word mean to me? What does physical wellness mean to me? What does emotional wellness mean to me? And then I get to say, and you get to say for you. So let's do, and this, if you've done motivational interviewing before, you might just find some of this sprinkled in, because I went and got certified in that, because I think it's a really helpful methodology for clinicians or just people walking around. So what we're going to do, and you'll need a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil or something just to take some notes. So we're going to go through, and you're going to give yourself scale of 1 to 10, 10, so satisfied with my current iteration of wellness in this category. 1, dumpster fire. Please pay attention to this very soon. We're going to go through the 8 and give ourselves a number on each one, our personal feelings of satisfaction. Then we're going to do the next step. All right. So let's begin with physical wellness. The definition I pulled said, maintaining a healthy body through proper nutrition, regular exercise, adequate sleep, and preventative health care. Okay. So I'm a menopausal person. And I'm like, adequate sleep. What are you talking about? Nutrition. But for you, when you think about, if I took a snapshot of myself in this moment, and you did the same for you, How satisfied are you with your current level of physical wellness? 10, I'm satisfied. 1, I'm not satisfied. So give yourself a number between 1 and 10. 5 is a difficult number, but maybe you can use 5. I just questioned my own number. Then when you're ready, let's go to social. We're going to quickly move through these. So social wellness, they say building and maintaining supportive relationships with family, friends, and community. Some folks, this is where they thrive. And then there are introverts who are like, I would like people to leave me alone. But for you and your satisfaction scale, social wellness, what number would you give yourself? It could even be the quality of the relationships you have. Next up, emotional wellness. The definition I pulled said managing stress effectively, developing coping mechanisms, maintaining positive self-esteem, and having healthy relationships. Oh, these things are connected, but we knew that. On emotional wellness, do you feel equipped? We were talking in an earlier workshop about sometimes we need to be reacquainted with our healthy practices, and other times we might need to get new ones, which is why I threw this summit, because I feel like so many people know so much information and we can learn from each other. So how satisfied are you with your emotional wellness toolbox currently? 1 to 10. Next one. Am I going too fast? No. Next one, occupational or work wellness, finding satisfaction and fulfillment in one's work. That's not necessarily where you work. Maintaining a healthy life balance, work life, and aligning your career goals with your personal values. Scale of 1 to 10. Next, financial wellness. How satisfied are you? Managing your finances well, creating a budget. This definition said saving for the future, avoiding excessive debt. That's just the definition. How do you feel about your financial wellness if we took a snapshot today? I think that's another place that folks are feeling nervous. You know, we joke about people, some people are jokes about eggs and things, but like we all live in this world and pay for mortgages or rent and cars and gas. So your personal snapshot, how satisfied are you? Next up, the environmental one I think is really interesting. So environmental wellness could be, I'm not going to read the definition because I don't feel like it gets to what we could get to. Where you live, where you work, the area around your body. I heard one person that I worked with said, do I feel safe and secure where I am? Does this feel like a healthy way for me and my body to live? This could be you're having knee problems and you live in a 2-story place. Or it could be you live in South Carolina. It could be jokes. So it's like you can take this. How satisfied are you with the environment around your life, around your body currently? 10, so satisfied. 1, dumpster fire, environmental wellness. It even makes me think of when I was a professor at South Carolina State. I had athletes, students who were living in spaces with black mold, and it was affecting everything about them. Environmental wellness. Also, what we can control. So sometimes we work on those things. Next up, intellectual or creative. How satisfied are you in how you are feeding your intellectual self or your creative self? Scale of 1 to 10. Earlier today, Christine, both and Melanie were talking about their creative practices. And last but not least, spiritual wellness. I kind of like this definition because some people I work with don't have a religious background or have left a religious background. Mm-hmm. So, finding meaning and purpose in life, connecting with your personal values, and practicing mindfulness. I don't know that one. Some people are like, what is that? This could also be creative. So, scale of 1 to 10. And now we're going to take a look and find or circle or star your 2 to 3 lowest numbers of satisfaction. Once you circle those, we're going to do a little bit of noticing, if you will, with me. Do those categories surprise you? Is there anything new? No. For some people, it's like New Year, same me, baton moving forward. I'm doing the same thing. Is there anything, nothing surprising about it? Did you have, Charlie, you don't have to share the categories, but
Not surprising, just because I've been, continuing to work on the self-awareness. And so I know those are categories that I really, really need to improve on and want to improve on. Is just, getting past those challenges and obstacles that keep me from it.
this is the perfect workshop for you because we're gonna play with some strategies today. And I'm sure you also have lots of wisdom and have how you've navigated them up to this point.
I don't know about that, but
We learn by doing. Alyssa, Dr. Harris. Anything surprising? Nope. Nope.
Um, no, but now I'm like, I'm also overthinking, like, well, what if I said that these were the worst things? Because I don't actually want to pay attention to what's bothering me, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and so what I've settled back on is like, oh no, we're not coming out of winter. It's still winter. And I need to pay attention to the season and honor that. And the numbers that I put are the numbers that I put.
Yeah.
And as things change, I can use this tool later
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Well, it's just a little snapshot of the day. It's not definitely not like a this is how I am all the time. Dr. Harris, the clinician in the room, is nodding.
Well, it's I won't say there was anything surprising, but when you put it down on paper and then you have to face it, you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, we need to be doing something there. Or I'm in my head reminding myself, or just thinking about what I'm not doing. And that's why my number looks the way it does. Or what I am doing, and oh, that's why my number looks the way it does. So
Yeah. Brilliant. It's also, if you look at it as satisfaction, we're so often socialized to not feel like we can make changes or even have an opinion about what we like and don't like, want and don't want. So it's like this is just a tool to be like, you know what, I'm not satisfied right there. So in the motivational interviewing tool, we do the next step, which would be we'll just take 2, unless you're like, I want to do 3. Take 2, and let's say it's a 6. What would make it one number more? So we're going to take those 2. It's like, what would make it feel like a 7 or feel like a 3? So let's take 3 minutes, 4, and it'll be at like the 25 mark to sort of just like think through what are all the ways I can increase this number. Sound good? If you're done, feel free to write done in the chat. Oh, that's what I thought. I'm so curious. While Charlie's finishing up, when you look at the ways that you want to increase the number, did you write anything wild? Or was it like, well, I'm going to go to the gym? How creative were your thoughts about this? Was there anything, how about this? This is a better question. Was there anything new on your list of ways you can increase your satisfaction number? Anything new that surprised you?
Not necessarily that surprised me, but because it's similar to the list I've had, before when I've done this. But because I've made improvements in other areas, now those areas can help bolster these, if that makes sense. So like my financial one went up because I've been really doing the work, to get there. And now it's like, oh, well, now I can do more social, like to bring that up because I can afford it. So so that's the shift that I saw. Not necessarily that the ideas changed, but that now I might be more able to actually do them.
Hold that pro tip. How about y'all? What was my question? Oh, anything surprised you that you wrote down?
I don't, nothing surprising necessarily, but it's some one thing I got out of occupational, for instance, like most of the time we feel that we have to take control of our occupational journey. Nobody can help us with it. I just need to figure out and navigate it. And one of the things I wrote down to improve my occupational score is connecting with the right people. Like you don't have to do it alone. And oftentimes, that's where the magic happens when you connect with the right people.
I love watching Alyssa think. The poet, deep thoughts. It's like I love to watch smart people think. So I heard two things I want to play with, if you allow me. Thank you for collaborating with me on this little workshop. I heard from Charlie that growth in one area can help growth in another area. Okay, so take a look. We're going to find buddies. So both Charlie and Dr. Alicia Harris gave us buddies, like actual people. And Charlie, you're like, oh, just sort of conditions. I've learned some things in this area that help me do X, Y, and Z. So when you look, and we don't have to like do a lot of deep writing about this, pick one of them and be like, you know what? I've made some improvements in another category. Can you find another category that will be a buddy to the one that you're going to, if you decide to work on it? Do you have a buddy for it? Charlie, you said financial is helping social. Any other buddies?
For me, social will help occupational because I think about networking and, getting out, meeting new people.
Love it.
Right. So part of the eyes is that my housemate has a friend over and they're playing music together. So I was trying to figure out what's going on. If you hear her, she's amazing. Go visit her. She's in Dollywood. It's fine.
Well,
As one does, I think for me, my emotional wellness and my intellectual / creative wellness are going to be buddies because a lot of the times I'm in an emotional tank because I'm not writing anything. So if I can at least work in journaling, then everybody's going to be happy.
Ooh, I love that. Really, no, seriously, the science of creativity and hope, and I know other people have researched this, it is almost the same, which is, I think, why I'm in the PhD program, but I'm like, oh, you proved that already. You don't need me to keep talking about it. But I feel like for a lot of us, those are entwined: emotional wellness, intellectual/creative wellness. Okay, next step. So you've all three had a noticing on your buddies. So for the next 100 days, which if we start tomorrow, I don't know, I'm not real binary about time and I'm not a stickler on goals, but I love progress. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 5 minutes and we're going to think about what is our end goal. So if April the 30th, by the way, I'm going to be having 3 free gatherings to, like, each month we're going to get together and do a process that Charlie knows called Look Back, Learn Forward, because we don't give ourselves credit for all the things we do. We don't. And so we're going to, those group gatherings, we like give ourselves credit for all the things we have done, even if we're not like at the end at April 30th, because what is time? But there'll be 3 of those. So if you put on your wildest imagination hat, and I had my creative fairy godmother pen and I could bippity boppity boop, what would you have on April the 30th? Or what would you feel? Or what progress can you imagine for yourself in this area? We're just focusing on this one where you're like, wow, I'm so glad I spent time on that. Look at, this is the feeling I have now. This is the practice. What are the numbers you would want by the end of April 30th? Take about 3 minutes just to sort of like see how imaginative you can be on what you could have, feel, do by April 30th. When you feel complete with that, put done in the chat. Amazing. So from that wildest dream, I also know that brilliant people are also thinking practically already. We might not write that dream down because we really want to use this time well. So what I want to do is I want to walk us back a little bit and just notice, has your brain started arguing with you yet about if this is doable by April the 30th? Yeah, a little bit.
Always.
Always. It's like, because maybe, and I know I have a highly certified clinician on the call, but I wonder if that is because the feeling of not getting it done or not feeling like I can't do it, like, is heartbreaking. Do you know? It's just like, maybe that's like I shield myself from the biggest dreams because the grief of not getting them done and what is time is like hard. I don't know. That would be a me experience. I don't know if you feel the same way. Thoughts?
This has been something that I've been dialoguing with myself about for the past month or so. And my fear is, well, what happens after I achieve this dream? What happens to my comfortable, because I am comfortable. I can complain, but I don't need to, you know? What happens to my comfortable life? What happens to what I understand of myself after I achieve this dream? Um, and what happens in that little death of what I know? What happens after that? So, for me, my goals are small because I understand what could happen like 50 feet away from me, but I don't understand what could happen like a football field's down the road.
I really get that. I work with a lot of people who can think, and myself too. It's like if someone said, well, where will you be in 10 years? I'm like, alive, I hope. Cooking with gas. I don't know. So 50 feet out for you, this 100-day practice, does that seem too far out? Does it need to come into like 30-day practice? Because we right size, right? You can have pants that fit you.
Um, no. A lot of the things that I have are, um, well, I have, if this is acceptable with all of us, to just share what my end
Please.
goal for my 100 days.
Yeah, please.
Um, I would like to have raw files for 4 songs, because I would like to put out an album this year. Um, I would like to have a poetry book manuscript because I would like to publish a book of poetry this year. But because that's creative, I also would like to have a journal where I don't have a skip of 5 days. So like up to 5 days, but not past 5 days. I would like to have a practice log that shows that I've been practicing at least 3 times a week. I'd like to have a lead on a full-time or a full-time equivalent job that has health benefits because that's part of the financial wellness that I would like to explore. So these are goals that I think are also habits that I'd like to form in these next 100 days.
Perfect. Amazing. Love it. Anyone else want to share their 100 days or thoughts about this benchmark as a period of time?
I think when you start putting time, like everybody has ideas in their head, right? They want to do this, they want to do that, and they may even journal, and say that that's what they want to do. But it's so easy when there's no time frame attached. So it's like eventually I'll get to that. When I went into the PhD program, it was like in 5 years I want to have my PhD. It's got to be before I'm 55 years old, unless why? And so I started in 2019. In 2019, 5 years felt like 10 years. But now in 2025, and I walk in May, it's like, oh my God, 2019 felt like 5 months ago. Um, but there is a certain level of fear that underlies when you quantify things. Because what happens if I don't have it in 30 days? Well, nobody's going to come and bash you over the head. You realign, you readjust, and refocus. But I think sometimes we hold ourselves in these spaces where failure is looming. And it's like, but by whose standard, really? So we avoid quantifying things because, oh, what if it just doesn't happen? We don't know what's going to happen. Tomorrow's the inauguration. What I can't say what I'll be doing April 30th. But I think that's a way of avoidance. And sometimes I think when we do put down goals, we're careful to put down goals that we feel we can achieve in and of ourselves. So I'll put this small goal down and I think I'm okay with that. And we fail to give ourselves the permission to dream big. Like, if what is, what is the wildest thing you think you could accomplish by April 30th? And again, knowing that no one dictates pass or fail, and you don't have to do it alone.
No, which is the next question. So look at your list of what you can possibly dream you could have done by April the 30th, and find the one that you're like, I'm a little nervous about getting that one done. And what I would like you to make a list of is, number one, what qualities do you have already that will get you there? One of the qualities that makes me not always the most fun human being to be in space with is I'm dogged. When I have made up my mind, I'm loosey goosey until I make up my mind. But once I do, I'm like, Chow! So I would write that down. So make a list of your maybe like 3 to 5 personal qualities that you're like, yeah, I bring this to the table, or I have an experience getting through difficult things, or I'm resourceful. So write down on one column, what do you have already? And then we'll do a what do I need column. What do I have already column? Just take 60 seconds to what do I have? All right. How you doing on that list? Still working? Still smart? I'm watching smart people think. You're pretty good. Let's just still thinking. Charlie, have you moved over into what do I need?
Mhm.
Yep. When you're done, put done in the chat. Y'all, I don't know if you had this, but as I got into the nibbly bits, I forgot something. I'm like, write the next play, finish the next play. I got to finish the dang memoir. It's done. It's March 1st. It's due. Oh, so sometimes when we get into the weeds, when we get down to the practical steps, that's when we like try on the pants. You're like, that's a little too tight. That doesn't mean I don't want to finish that play. I do. I just feel like maybe that's not an April the 30th thing. Maybe but I also am reminded it's like that memoir is real important to me. Okay, so if you feel comfortable, will you tell us one or more things that are on your what I have list? What do you already know, have, can do that will help you get to the finish line?
I wrote down I am resilient, persistent, and I have insight.
Oh,
Um, the thing I need is a plan.
perfect. Good thing I get to know you a little longer. Amazing. Charlie, you're off mute.
I have the ideas, skill set, resources, and awareness. Now I just need to do it.
Ooh. My next question would be like, you've bridged that gap before. How have you bridged that gap before?
Um, Setting healthier boundaries, and that's still an ongoing process. As other things in life shifts, I have to reestablish boundaries and sometimes change them completely depending on what it is that I need and want.
Yep.
And so that's been a big part of the process, but also networking, like finding people who, like this group, understand and have either gone through the same thing or have some of the same ideas that, you can kind of feed off of emotionally, intellectually, all of those things. That's how I've made it through. And so now I just need to revise my plan, continue to set those boundaries, and just do it. Like, push through that fear piece, which is always the biggest part.
Mm. Can't wait to see what you're talking about on April the 30th. Huh?
Awesome.
I know a little bit about the three of you. I can't, because I also know all three of you are super capable. Alyssa, you want to play? You've got the side lean. You want to share your list of what you have? You're like, maybe.
I've uh, I'm just relaxing into the moment.
I like that about you.
Thank you. Um, I'm still like I wrote something to get the pump primed.
Mm,
But I'm not entirely satisfied with that because it's not actually about me, I don't think. Like I wrote, to be fair, I wrote I am talented. I wrote that I have access to recording equipment and I have time to record. Um, and that's helpful.
hmm
There's probably something else I can write when I come back to this tool.
hmm
And then I wrote what I need is just a little bit of belief in myself.
hmm hmm
Is the folks are asking me for this stuff. And I'm just like, well, so that's something that I'm going to keep working on. It's probably going to be one of those lifelong things. But yeah.
Also really good. So this is where, like, on the recording, it's like your first chat with me, by the way, is free. And from one creative to another creative, like my creative fairy godmother brain is like, ooh, I'd love to have a chat with you about it. So I think there's just like in that bridging, you're not alone. Like Dr. Harris said, you're not. You want to hear this wild list I wrote? And I'm happy to have a chat anytime. Okay. My list is, what do I have? I know people. That's my first one.
People.
I know a lot of very smart, talented, cool people. I am diligent. I have energy. I can get through difficult things, and I am hopeful. Actually, and what's funny on the what I need, I wrote to finish the dang memoir because it's like Sisyphus, after 8 years, like a creative it's just so much. And it's like the last leg, and I would rather do something else that's shiny. But for me, I'm like, Shannon, boop, Shannon, boop, but only until March the 1st. And then I might need some advice
Mm.
on one of my goals has to do with making sure my business practices are aligned with my values. And there are at least two people that I follow their work and I like how they're doing things. And I'm very curious about, and maybe what I need to do is just hire them for a session or longer to be with me as I evaluate my business practices to align them. Because making a lot of money is not, for me, not the most important thing, but also how I make the money is the most important thing. Integrity to me is the most important thing, which is why we're here. It's why we're here. Okay, so I opened up this can of worms, this whole like 100 days. We've got, let's say, 6 more minutes. Some people are marathoners and some people are sprinters. Some people love a hyper focus and some people like to do something every day. That would be a marathoner. I'm just going to keep on trucking, keep on trucking. Me, I like to haul it and then rest. That's just how my personality is, or brain. So do you identify, wiggle your fingers if you identify as more of a marathoner, you like diligent, step by step. Maybe you're a hybrid. I don't know. Wiggle your fingers if you're a sprinter. Fantastic. So when you think about, this is going to help you plan for your months. So if we've got 3 months and 10 days in 100 days, 3 months, 10 days, this means that for the sprinters, we're not going to work every day on our things. We might need to, okay, sprinters, when you think back to these moments when you've had like a project where you really wanted to hyper focus on it, how did you do that? Did you like shut your phone off and just one day and you like had like a creative affair with your project? Did you go to a writing retreat? How did you get it done the last time you wanted to make a change, sprinters? And then I'll come to you, Dr. Harris.
For me, it usually just kind of happens to where I end up hyper focused. I don't necessarily plan it that way because I can say, oh, I'm going to take the weekend and I'm going to just dive in and do, and then everything else happens and I end up not being able to do that. Or my body says, nope, not a good time. And I have really done a lot of work to be able to listen to my body and to rest when it says to rest, which is completely different than the last 50 years of my life. And so that has been something that I'm still not really there on figuring out how to create that that work or that opportunity where I can get my head and my body in line. You know, my body says, oh, we need to rest. And my head's like, no, I need to do these things. And in the past, I'd beat myself up over it, or I just work through it and hurt myself physically from not resting. And so now it's trying to find that balance where I can create the space that's inviting enough for both, to where I can plan, hey, I'm gonna, shut this off and close the door and be able, to dedicate that time. I'm almost there, but not quite yet.
You know what? If you ever looked up the stages of change, I've shared this with you before. I think you're in contemplation phase. You're not in pre-contemplation. You're in contemplation phase.
Right.
Oh, I hear that like shut the door. You're like
Yeah.
almost ready to be like, now it's time to like create the changes, which is also creative. It's like in the developmental process. We got to put stuff in, and then it's like, it's time. And then it's like,
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you at all, Alyssa?
I've been telling people that I'm going to put out music and publish something this year since like December, for I guess a little bit of external accountability, whether or not I let myself think that at the time. So I would consider that contemplation in, I guess, community.
Mhm.
The last time I like hyper focused on a project, the world was also kind of shut down.
Mm.
So I didn't necessarily develop any good habits. I do know of good habits because whether or not I do them is a different story. But I will be moving forward with what I know, which is make time in the mornings that I have a lot of time for doing
Mhm.
these things, and maybe coupling that with some kind of physical movement, so that it's not just, so I'm using all of my body. So I'm using all of me.
Mhm.
So those are things that I would, in my contemplation, in the gathering,
Mhm.
in the little push at the top of the hill.
Mhm.
I would like to be a healthy sprinter, and I would like to not develop shin splints. Uh,
Yes, I love that. It's like I love all of the pro tips inside of that, and knowing time of day and
Mhm.
setting up your schedule and that ecosystem to create the conditions that I don't know. I love healthy artists understanding what they need to create the work they'd be proud of. Sometimes we make things and then we know what it took to get there and we're like, I don't want you to look at that. Because you knew and you're like proliferating the artists are not healthy. Oh, I love all of that. The healthy version, morning, bring all of me. I wrote all of me and put a circle around it. Thank you. Dr. Harris, we need to hear from our marathoner. That's how PhDs get done, I hear.
Hey, listen, when I was younger, I was a sprinter. I used to tell people I work well under pressure. So, it'd be the night before the paper is due. Here I am churning out the 10-page paper. And, the reinforcement to that was, I had the good GPA. Now, the older I get, that brain elasticity, listen, is not the same. And
Understood.
I know I need to start working on things and chipping away a little at a time because one, if I wait until the last minute, in my opinion, I no longer produce my best work. Two, I become overwhelmed and stressed and almost shut down. And then three, I had to really understand what time of day works best for me. Some people in the doc program, they would write all night. I am not one of those people. I need to go to sleep. So in the mornings, my brain is fresh. I can write. Some people stayed in the house all weekend. Oh, just shut yourself in and write all day. And I tried that one time and I almost threw my laptop up against the wall because I'm very much a social person. So to isolate myself, I was like, no, 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 this is not good. So what I do, I operate on a work and reward system. So I tell myself, if you want to go out Saturday and spend time with your family, then you need to work Monday through Thursday at least.
Mhm.
Take Friday, as a break, go out Saturday, but then Sunday night, you got to get right back to it. And that worked for me. Even allotting myself, okay, you got 2 hours, you can watch one television show, get something to eat, something to drink, but then you have to go back in there. And that's how I made it through, dissertation while working full time and all the things they tell you can't do. Because I had to set some parameters in place for myself that
Mm.
were healthy and
Mm.
that were realistic. And I had to keep reminding myself, there's no rush for you to be done. This is a personal goal. There's no one watching. And who cares if all the other people graduated out of your cohort? It's not about when you finish, it's about that you finish. So all of those things I had to keep in the forefront of my mind. And when my colleagues were like taking 3 or 4 classes and working full time, killing themselves, I had to remind myself, no, 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 this is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And I was okay with that. And I didn't allow anybody to shame me
Right.
into making it a sprint, because that can happen either way, you know? So just really being resolute in my decision of how to approach whatever task I had.
I love the fact that each of you tried on the pants of this and really thought through how to make it work for me. So none of these techniques and tools boss you around. It's really about like, this works for me or it doesn't. And I can bring everything I know about myself to really support me getting these things done. So you will get an invitation. You don't have to join us, but I'll be having these Zoom gatherings for folks that are going to do the 100 days of thriving. And I can't wait to hear your first month. And for some of you, the first month might just be contemplation phase. Like, how would I like to do this? It's not a quiz. You can't get it wrong. It's only good, whatever you're doing your first month, second month, third month. Even if we only sneak forward in the thinking, we will have done something a lot more than a lot of other people are doing. I so appreciate y'all for being here. Adore each one of you. And tomorrow we get to see Dr. Alicia Harris at 11, but we start at 9:30 with me and a dance party. I don't know. I'm just making things
That's
fun.
8:30 for me.
That's
You know I love you.
And my friend Tammy
On a holiday when I don't have to work.
That's why I put it on a holiday. Thanks for being here. I will see y'all tomorrow. If you didn't get the workbook, you know where to find me, and I will see you very soon. See y'all tomorrow. Rest well.
Nice to meet you all.
Yay! See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.